The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story, this is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. It's a very exciting day today because, first of all, we're going to have a show coming to town here, which is going to be very exciting. I can't wait to talk about it. I got a great guest on tonight that I can't imagine anyone not knowing who I have on tonight. It's going to be a fantastic conversation. And I'm just going to get right to it because we don't have a ton of time with him, but I want to make the best of it as much as possible. You know, our guest tonight was with over 30 years of experience researching the unknown. Dustin Pari brings exciting and positive lectures about the paranormal all across the country as a part of television's Ghost Hunters, Ghost Hunters International, and appearances on Destination Truth and Ghost Nation. Dustin has traveled the world over looking for answers and expanding his understanding of the unseen realm. Now, Dustin's going to be here on April 3rd at 8 p.m. at the Fitzgerald Theater and doing a show called Ghosts Do You Believe? We want to talk about that today, amongst other things. You can go ahead and get tickets. I highly recommend you do. I'm going to be there. I'm looking very much forward to it. Go to ghostsdoyoubelieve.com. Get your tickets. Dustin, welcome to GhostBox Radio.
Thanks so much for having me, Greg. Happy to be here.
Well, thank you very much. And boy, you know, first of all, I got to say, I looked at your schedule for the show, and it's a grueling one. I'm not going to lie. I think that it's because you're gonna. I mean, every day starting, I think April 2nd onward, for a little while, you are just traveling the Midwest and just checking out and going to these great locations. But gosh, that has to be hard.
It is. Life on the road is a challenging one, but it's honestly the only one I've known for so many years, you know. And between traveling with the shows and the lectures and the events, it's very rewarding. It can be very grueling. I'd be honest with you, man. I slept 15 hours last night because I had a trip to Iowa just this past weekend, and I didn't sleep for 36 hours due to flight issues, this, that, and the other. Like, I landed and I had to go do the gig, you know. I had to stay up to 2:30 in the morning investigating with the people that came to the show, and so it was quite the thing. But that's what we do. And with the Ghost Do You Believe tour, we got 36 stops, 2 of which are up in Canada, and we're going to be traveling down the road, man.
Yeah, man, that is great. I'm really excited, and I know you've been to Minnesota before. I mean, I used to go to the big Paracons, and I don't know if you've been around much lately or down in the cities, because that was up in Mahnomen, Minnesota. But the Fitzgerald, that's quite the theater. And you know, when you go into these locations, are you thinking to yourself, you know, like, I'd love just to investigate it, let alone do a show there?
It's always nice to have opportunity to visit such places, and theaters are great because, you know, they're notorious for their ghost stories and everything. So it's a great opportunity to be able to kind of learn a little bit about each theater. And although I can't do a full, you know, investigation, obviously, I am going to incorporate some stories from each venue, from each theater, into the program every night. So every time you see me in a new theater, there'll be some new stories to share. Just a couple of things, because I want people also to be aware and thoughtful of the venue that they're coming to, because there's more there than just the performances that happen. And I think by sharing some of those backstage stories that the actors and the actresses and the set people experience on a regular basis, I think that's a nice added bonus for the theater goers to know, hey, like, I've come here to see, you know, Phantom of the Opera. I've come here to see Cats. I had no idea the place was haunted. And then you get to kind of make those stories come to life and keep the spiritual stories of those actors and actresses that maybe passed away and still visit there alive.
I like the way that you're honoring the locations. I mean, and it's a nice. I mean, I feel like it fits very much into what you do, who you are, and what the whole kind of purpose of Ghost Hunters is as well. I mean, there is just a lot of respect in general.
Yeah, I think that's always been the most important thing for me, and for also for the ladies and gentlemen that I've shared the Ghost Hunters screen with. We always want to be thoughtful of what could be causing hauntings that may not be of a paranormal origin or a spiritual origin, but we always want to be respectful of those that have asked us to come in to do the investigation, respectful of the location itself, and of course respectful of the spirits that are there. And so to be able to bring that to all these people at all these theaters, to share some stories of what happens, with these encounters, stories from on the road, behind the scenes stories of my own life. I think that people are going to take more away from the show than they're expecting. I mean, yeah, we're going to have some spooky pictures and some strange stories and things. But I think overall, there's this underlying kind of theme about what it means to be a spirit going through a human experience here, and it's about asking questions. Ghost Do You Believe isn't just the title of this tour. It's not just the title of the show. It's me wanting you to prompt more questions about this life, about the afterlife. What happens when we die? Am I ever going to see grandma again? Like, ask these questions. It's important to do so because I feel we're so distracted by this world. We're so distracted by the noise of this world, the constant barrage of media, of social media, of advertisements, flashing lights, loud sounds. There's very little time to explore our spirituality and our spiritual selves. And I think we're doing a great disservice to ourselves, kind of wasting our time with things that don't matter and not spending time asking the questions about loftier ideas and things that are really important.
I feel like too that there's a bit of a kind of a mental health check-in coming out to your show, in the sense that there are so many people, and you've run across them for the past 85 years that you've been on the air, and I had sorry, no, maybe not that long.
Feels that way.
It feels but I get it too quite a bit, where all people really want is to know that they are not alone, that the stuff that if they go to your show and they see what Dustin Pari's talking about, what he's experienced, and granted, I think it's going to be probably a little bit more extreme in a lot of cases, that what you've experienced, what some of us have experienced, but still, it's just the idea of like, I'm not crazy, I'm not alone. And look, this theater is full of people, and they all have the same. You can see that they're all tracking along with you as well.
Absolutely. It's I've always felt like the most wonderful thing that came out of Ghost Hunters was that it allowed other people to talk about it. At the water cooler at work or wherever they were, it was easier to have these discussions about the things that happened to us, or the things that we witnessed, or even our curiosity, without people, thinking that you're crazy, that you don't know what you're talking about, or you believe in things that aren't there. And I think that is a wonderful thing. And I'm glad to have been a part of that with the show all these years. And then also to be able to bring this to a live theater experience for so many people. And again, like you said, mental health check, it does kind of make us feel better to know we're not alone in this.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of work with mental health and suicide prevention. That's been a passion of mine. And so definitely within these stories, within this show, there's going to be a lot of things that can make people feel a little bit more at home and feel like some of these things that maybe we've questioned, it's okay to have had these thoughts.
What came first, the paranormal investigating, or the desire, or even doing the motivational speaking?
The spiritual part of it came first. The researching into ghostly activity. That's what got me going. That's what got me a little bit of traction with my name and got me out there a bit. And because of that, if you remember about 85 years ago when we had MySpace before Facebook and things, I remember I was on the international show. I was doing Ghost Hunters International, and I was kind of the married guy in the crew, so I'd go out, buy around, and head back to the hotel and stay out of trouble for the night. But I would go on to MySpace. I'd check the message boards about the show, and I'd get ghost questions and things, and some compliments and also some hatred, whatever it may be. Thanks for watching anyway.
Right.
But there started to be more serious questions. There started to go from just questions about dust and orbs and ghost photos to people writing to me questioning, why they don't feel correct in this world, and mentions of self-harm and thoughts of suicide. And that's like, okay, I don't have the training or the accreditation to help any of these people. So I always steer them in the right direction. Every night on social media, on Twitter, I always sign off with the phone number for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. But listen, I'm a human here too, and I'm willing to listen. And sometimes you just need that validation that you're not alone and that somebody gives a damn enough to listen to you. And so that's what I did. And that has grown since then. So the motivational work, the suicide prevention work all came because of the little bit of platform that I had from the ghost hunting shows. And I'm very thankful to do that. I'm still thankful to do all of that today. And although my passion for the paranormal burns deeply inside me, more important to me is helping people as they go through this world. Because again, it makes sense for us not to feel right here.
Yeah.
I don't believe that we're from here, like spiritually, right? So we're in this weird material world trying to figure out why things don't always feel right for us. Well, there's a real obvious reason for that. And that's, we're not from here and we don't stay here, but we should be learning while we grow here. We should be taking care of each other, laughing together, crying together. And I think that unfortunately we've become very isolated. We've lost our empathy. We've lost our sense of community, and we've become very much one person vessels, and it's very sad to see that. And I worry about that a lot with the youth, especially. It's why I do lectures at the schools and stuff, because I feel like they need to know more than anyone else that there are real people there to listen to you and to walk with you through this life.
That's fantastic. I mean, and that's very very commendable. And although this isn't what you were saying, I also feel like in my time in this field, and also being a part of social media and stuff, I do think there's also a fine line with that, just amongst paranormal investigators as well. And maybe it's not necessarily suicide, but it's depression. And also I think the idea of kind of being alone, being kind of the outlier, even though the paranormal has taken on so much. I mean, and certainly thanks to shows like Ghost Hunters, it's taken on such a great appeal. There's still a underlying bit of kind of loneliness amongst investigators as well.
Yeah, it's I lovingly joke that we're like the Isle of Misfit Toys.
Truly.
We're all kind of the weird kids that sat at the back table at lunch,
Mm-hmm.
in high school. And I mean, hell, I went to a Catholic school and I still wore like the
Me
black
too.
shirt and the long hair and like all that stuff. And I think that there is a wonderful paranormal community out there that does a lot of great outreach into the community and animal shelters and things like that. We've established a great community of kindred souls that want to do more, and that are banding together with our weirdness and our strangeness, and we are
Mm-hmm.
doing more, which is great. But yeah, at the same time, yeah, it's easy to still feel kind of alone. And we spend most of our time in the dark. We spend most of our time in empty buildings. It's definitely a different lifestyle, but there's a lot of love there, and there's a lot of kindness there. And there's nothing I love more than going out to the events and meeting other people that have shared that path, that story, And so many times I remember being younger and just feeling like I'm a square boy in a round world, and I don't seem to fit here at all, But now my idea of that same analogy has kind of changed, because I'm like, you know what? It's not that I don't fit within the world. It's that those corners of that square are extending beyond the world. In many ways, those of us that are involved in the paranormal that ask these bigger questions, we're bigger than what this world is about, because we recognize how important the spirituality and the afterlife is. And so we're not kind of conforming to the roundness of the world and the social media and the constant, barrage of consumption and Amazon boxes and all the plastic crap of this world. We are beyond that. And it's weird to be a part of it because, although flashy cars and those kind of things may look nice, we know that's not what this is about.
No, it isn't. And I also, I also went to Catholic school growing up, and people joke about, I served my time there, or whatever. It's all part of the human tapestry, isn't it? So it's all part of what it is about us that makes us ourselves. And I don't know, the schools that I went to were built a long time ago. Those are the places I'd like to go investigate. There's no way they're going to let me do it. But boy, would I love to get in some of those places, man.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Absolutely. There's got to be some stories in some of those buildings. I love investigating the old schoolhouses when the ones that we're allowed to go into, because you just think, you remember being a kid in school and just staring at that clock, waiting for the day to go by, and just think of all the energy of all the people that was put into that place, good and bad throughout the years, and that energy lingers, and it continues to exist in one form or another, whether it be residual activity or intelligent hauntings, whatever it may be. And it's so cool to go back and to kind of tap into that too.
It really is. There was one up the road from where I live. I love the fact I live in a place called St. Michael, Minnesota. That's the town I live in. And there was an old schoolhouse up the road that was that I wanted to get in investigated from the 1800s. The church across the street, absolutely, they knew who I was, not because of anything other than I told them. I told them what I did, and they're just like, it would be like, nope. I try a couple times, it'd be nope. Then they tore it down. And it's just like, it's a real bummer. They wouldn't even let me in just to look. It wasn't like I was going to burst away from them and start doing my own investigations before they could tackle me. It was just like, I just wanted to see inside. And it's a shame, but it is what it is. I mean, what can you do about it?
Unfortunately, sometimes the idea of what we do and the reality of what we do are very different things to people that don't understand it or aren't even open enough to ask those bigger questions, and to maybe entertain the idea of paranormal research. And it is, especially if they're going to demolish the place anyway. Like, what's the worst that could have happened? Right?
Absolutely. I mean, apart from when I worship Satan when I go to do these things, but whatever. We don't talk about that on the air too often.
Par for the course.
Par for the course, right? I got to take a break. Can you stick around for one more segment?
I'd be happy to, absolutely.
That'd be great. So we're going to continue our conversation with Dustin Pari, the show that's coming to town at the Fitzgerald Theater April 3rd at 8 p.m. Ghost Do You Believe? You can get tickets at ghostdoyoubelieve.com. We'll be back with Dustin. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950.
Magus Books, your multicultural spiritual supply store. Stop in and expand your horizons with books, classes, readings, and supplies at magusbooks.com or in our shop at 1848 Central Avenue Northeast in Minneapolis. From the best incense to beautiful statues, we have supplies and books for your spiritual explorations. Come in and chat with our knowledgeable staff and get what you need for your next adventure, whether you're fighting ghosts or opening your third eye. Check us out today at magusbooks.com.
Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
Reach your highest level of consciousness and well-being with metamorphosisconnections.com. Metamorphosisconnections.com is an online directory of the best holistic and metaphysical practitioners to help you make your most informed choices. You can search metamorphosisconnections.com for classes, events, wellness and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on metamorphosisconnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting metamorphosisconnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's metamorphosisconnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
And welcome back to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining me. Boy, we got a great show going on here. We got our special guest tonight, Dustin Pari. You may have seen him from the 85 years he's been on television on Ghost Hunters, Ghost Hunter International, Ghost Nation he's appeared on as well, Destination Truth. I mean, it's been great. And we're talking to him tonight because he's going to be in town April 3rd, and he's going to be at the Fitzgerald Theater with his show, Ghost Do You Believe? You can go ahead and get tickets there. It's going to be ghostdoyoubelieve.com. I'm excited. I got my tickets. I'm ready to roll on that. I got to tell you, though, Dustin, there is a gentleman by the name of Adam, and he does the board op a lot of the nights for this show. And he actually talks to you quite a bit on Twitter, it sounds like. His name is online. It's and I don't expect, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I don't expect you to be like, oh, him. I mean, you may not know, but his handle is at Adam Hurley. And you have all talked about wrestling, which I know nothing about, Halloween decorations, and underwater paranormal investigations, apparently.
Yes, all those things do sound very familiar indeed. And there's not everyone that talks about those Halloween decorations and underwater investigations, maybe, but wrestling and all those things, no. There's a few select that I talk to. So yes, Mr. Hurley, indeed. And I love all that kind of stuff. I could talk wrestling for days. I love that kind of stuff.
And that is why he's not on tonight, so that I could have a conversation with you. I mean, it's kind of how that works. I got to say, though, speaking of Ghost Nation, you've been to a lot of places and investigating, and there might have been a couple that I've been to investigate as well, but there is one that I know that we share, and I don't know if you remember, there in Holton, Kansas, there is this place called Hotel Josephine,
oh, yeah.
But they had that lake house. Yeah. And I've investigated that lake house, and I'm sure when you walked into that lake house, you're like, why can't all haunted locations look like this lake house?
Amazing.
It's such a beautiful. I mean, it's an old house, but it was completely redone. Yeah. So I just think I think that's a great location.
Yeah. No, it's an amazing place. Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're used to being in places, with asbestos that was recently removed, maybe lead paint chipping off the ceiling, falling over the floor, no place to sit, no running water. If there is water, it's only cold and not hot. You're using a porta potty outside. The lake house there in Kansas was amazing. Hotel Josephine, also a cool place, but yeah. The lake house had great activity. Very, very cool place. And I've done events there as well as investigations for television. And just I love Kansas. Kansas is one of my favorite states to visit. So I always like going down there. But yeah, very cool place indeed. And we had some great activity there. I think it made for a great episode for people at home too.
We have a mutual friend also, speaking of Kansas, Stephanie O'Reilly from the Mackay.
Yes. Yeah, Mackay Villa, absolutely.
Yeah.
That place.
I think that's one of the best places of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it gets overlooked a lot because people love the story of the Sally House, which is nearby. I will take, and I've done events at both, but I try to go back to McIntyre once a year because another place, like, why can't they all look like this? I mean, a beautifully furnished, amazing mansion in itself. Stephanie is such a great spirit, such a great soul, and she's there for most of the events, which is awesome because I've found, in all these years that spirits are very much more likely, rather, at least to come out and interact with somebody that they see there all the time. So having her there is a huge bonus. I'm going back there this winter. We're going to do a Victorian Christmas at McIntyre Villa. So that should be a great time. We'll go down there and sing some Christmas carols, tell some old spooky ghost stories, and investigate the place again.
Yeah, we're going to be out there in May. And it just coming up, and I try to do about once a year myself. It's there for folks that don't know, and we've had Steph on the show before, and we played some of the activity from the house. There's a lot of great places. There's a ton of great places. Up the road from me is the Palmer House. So I mean, there's a lot of great places, but McIntyre is truly something very special. Yeah,
it is a very special place indeed.
So I wanna get your opinion on something here, and it might be a little bit more controversial. And that's the mistake you made for saying that you'd stuck around for another segment.
That's the price.
Yeah, that's the price of being on the show. I mean, the thing is, it's like. If you look at the shows, you have Ghost Hunters, which is I always look at as the what it should be like, how a show should produce itself in terms of getting the information out to the public about how investigations work, how spirits work. There are other programs, not all, but some others that aren't quite that way, and they might be a little bit more the opposite. Do you think that has had a real detrimental effect on the field in general, or do you think that that's something that people don't really notice?
No, I think it's definitely noticeable. And I always say, listen, there's plenty of TV channels, there's plenty of streaming services, plenty of shows out there. Watch what you like, listen to what you like. It's good that we don't all sing from the same hymnal, right? It's good that we don't all just share the same mindset and only like one thing. Some of the more sensational shows are entertaining, and maybe that's what you look for in your paranormal programming. Maybe you want things that can be entertaining that are more research based. Maybe you want something that has a more spiritual approach. You find what works for you. I notice when I go out to do my events that there are some people that want to investigate in a more antagonistic way, and I just tell them, listen, when you're working with me, you come to my event, we're going to investigate my way, and I'm going to show you my ways of doing this research and stuff. And the time that you have to yourself to go investigate however you want, then you're free to do what you want. But I always put being respectful to the location, to the people that are there with me, and to the spirits that may be joining us first and foremost. And that's what I go with. And I'm not really a believer in portals and demons in every location and all those things. And do such things possibly exist? I'm sure, but have I come across it? No. Once in a while, I come across a negative spirit, someone just kind of cranky, the cantankerous personality persisting from this life into the next. I've never come across anything that I would say to be demonic in any way. But as a Christian, I believe that there's going to be good and bad, right? You need both sides of that coin. So if I'm going to say that I believe in the angelic, then I also believe the demonic must be possible. But I think the most important thing, and I put this out there all the time, you get what you bait your hook for. If you go into a place waiting for something negative to happen, trying to provoke something negative, talking and believing in something negative, your thoughts have weight, your words have weight, your actions have weight. So if you bait your hook for it, chances are that's what you're probably going to catch. But that also has to do with our daily lives. You can wake up and be miserable and think you're going to have a horrible day. You'll probably will.
Very much so. And that was
in my daily life and in my paranormal research.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think you cut out there. I thought, but I was going to say the same thing, Dustin. It's like, I think that, and especially, if you're going to be at McIntyre singing Christmas carols, there's no way bad spirits are going to come out and do anything to you. Unless you're bad singing, I don't know.
Yeah, no, this life and the next life, like I was just saying, I believe that you will get what you bait your hook for. And I just try to conduct myself in such a way where I'm not attracting negativity. I'm not messing with anything negative. And I'm also not putting myself in a negative mind state, which is really the most important part.
No, and that makes sense. I guess in a sense where I'm coming from there in a little bit is like, a lot of the programs, and, they don't need to be named. Everyone should be able to enjoy, like you said, whatever they want, take a look at what they want. I really hope that those who watch the more antagonistic programs look and be like, there are more out there to look at. There, that this is, kind of like the, maybe the XFL in a sense. That's extreme football opposed to the NFL, that there are other, ways of doing it. There's, high school wrestling and, WWE, it's all, it's kind of all, it's all a certain way that I think to appreciate it, you have to look at the broader spectrum of it as well. And that's where I'm hoping where, there are some investigators out there who don't do that, and they do it all from television. And I really, as someone who puts on events, sometimes we're the ones that have to kind of clean up the mess from what some of those programs have done.
Yeah, and that's that's what I try to tell people. Like, listen, you can't fault somebody if all they know is what they've seen. That's they've never done any research on their own. They haven't read any books about the subject. They haven't worked with other people that have been around the field for a long time. All they know is what they've seen on on this show or that show, and so they go out and they mimic it, and that's how it goes. And I think that the more open-minded you are, the tenure of your time in this field doing this type of work, you become more well-rounded, and you start to see which path is for you. And I think that's important to just be skeptical, be thoughtful of what you're doing, and learn as you go.
I think one of the things that I think people forget in general is that that spirits are people. And this is the thing that, and I find it even with the nicest people who they don't know what to say. They don't know what to ask on investigations because they don't know how to interact with spirits when in fact all you're doing is interacting with another human being, which in my case isn't easy because I don't interact well with other people. So, I mean, there is that as well, but we'll put that to the side for the moment.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I always tell people it's the ultimate blind date. You literally cannot see them, but if you're going to interrogate them, you're probably not going to get very far.
Yeah.
Try to be knowledgeable about the people you're interacting with in the spiritual realm. Talk about things that they may be passionate about, they may want to talk about, and try to keep it positive. Honestly, one of the things I do a lot, and I have to do it off camera because of copyright, is I play music.
Yeah.
I play music from that time period. And like that, I mean, I listen to a song now, it brings me back to when I was a kid, So I bring music that ties into the time period of these locations so that the spirit's like, oh, hey, I remember that song. Like, this is a comforting place. This is a good place. Not, tell me your name. Are you in pain? Are you trapped? Do you know you're dead? All these other BS questions that we recycle because it's been rehearsed for so long.
Yeah.
We think this is what we ask. I'm always like, hey, how are you doing? Like, and can you tell me how many fingers I'm holding up? And people are like, those are stupid questions. Like, but what more do you want from them? You're not going to get a long paragraph of an answer.
Yeah.
If you can get, the number 3 when I hold up 3 fingers, that's great. I'm verifying something I can't see, can see me, and can tell me what I'm doing. Like, that's awesome.
Do you have, and I totally agree with that. And it's exactly, I like to think that's the way that myself and the people I investigate with, we kind of have the same sort of thing. And like energy always attracts, right? So you're going to find, your people and investigate with them. Let's, as we're going to wrap up here, we're about 3 minutes or so left. Is there something that, is there a favorite, investigation or favorite spiritual interaction that you could share? I'm sure that you've told us a billion times, but I'd love to know something that really stands out for you as far as spirit communication.
There is a couple. And when it comes just to spirit communication, I don't share this one too much because it's a very personal thing and it's not for everybody, and that's okay. But I was doing an event for a college in New England, and it was, I come on stage, I do the hour presentation for the college kids, and then a select number of them come to do a little investigation afterwards. And so the drama department had brought me in there, and they wanted to do their own investigation. So we go to the cottage, and nothing is happening. It's been about a half hour. Nothing has occurred. No meters have gone off. No voices were heard. No EVPs were recorded. And so I'm using one of the ghost boxes, and it's very mundane, very quiet. And everybody gets a chance to ask a question. It was all garbage. Nothing was coming back that made sense. And I don't treat it like an audible, like Rorschach test. I don't go down rabbit holes. Like, if you ask a question and you get an answer, but it's not pertinent to your question, then it doesn't count. We just keep moving. And this one kid was really snarky and kind of being like, kind of a little difficult to be around. And if you don't want to believe, you don't have to. That's fine.
Yeah.
But you don't be snarky about it and be rude to people, and he was kind of doing that. And so he finally asked his question, and he says to the box, he says, so like, what do you do in the afterlife? Like, do you have a job? And I swear to you, and this is very important to me, and again, I don't put one over the other. I believe all world religions to be different for each town, each location, different spirits, different skin colors, different tongues, one message, whatever that is. But this girl's voice comes through clear as crystal, and she says, hang out with Jesus Christ. And everybody gasps and looks at me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, would you mind repeating what you said? And this girl comes back and she's like, hang out with Jesus Christ. He's God's son. Gotta go. And then everyone's looking at me. And I'm like, I've never had that name come through. I never asked those type of questions, like of religious or that kind of thing. And it was awe-inspiring. It was jaw-dropping, and it was clear as day. And the fact that she repeated it and then acted as if it was no big deal and that she had to leave. I was like, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And I remember calling some of my friends in the field. I'm like, you're not going to believe what just happened. And I wish I had recorded it, but I was just there, like, doing the session with the kids. But it was the coolest dang thing, man.
I love the idea too that sometimes you just don't record stuff. It's okay, right? Because it's what you just told me, the effect it had on you. That's what's important about it. Not like recording is nice, but not having it as a trophy either is also nice as well.
Yeah, it's the experience, man. I'm not trying to prove it to anybody. It was the experience, and it was amazing.
And I had one with Spirit Box many years ago. I mean, Spirit Box is my jam. I love it. And I real fast sounded like we needed to leave a Bible one weekend at a location. Came back the following weekend. Asked through Spirit Box, were you happy that we left a Bible for you? And the response was, "The Lord is my God." And that the same thing, same sort of thing. It's a real response, and absolutely wonderful. Once again, the live show is called Ghost Do You Believe with Dustin Pari, and it will be April 3rd at 8 p.m. at the Fitzgerald Theater in St. Paul. You can get tickets at ghostdoyoubelieve.com. Once again, it's ghostsdoyoubelieve.com. Thank you, Dustin, for stopping in and chatting. This was really cool. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure, Greg. Thanks for having me on.
I'd love it. Hopefully you can stop by sometime again.
All right, be happy to. We can talk wrestling with your board out.
That sounds great. Up next, I want to talk about Paranormal Location that is torn down in Kentucky. I'm also going to play some archival interview from the late Wanda Kaye, who used to work at that location, known as Bobby Mackey's Music World. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
In the heart of the Northeast, there lies a hidden beast, a dragon's lair at the crossroad, guarded by the maiden Mother Crone. A treasure trove of spells galore, discover incense, books, jewelry, and more. Just as the oracles foretold, this is where your mystery unfolds. As the shadows creep and the veil gets thin, do not fear what lies within. Magus Books is where your journey begins. Visit us at 1848 Central Avenue Northeast in Minneapolis, or online at magusbooks.com.
Reach your highest level of consciousness and well-being with metamorphosisconnections.com. Metamorphosisconnections.com is an online directory of the best holistic and metaphysical practitioners to help you make your most informed choices. You can search metamorphosisconnections.com for classes, events, wellness and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on metamorphosisconnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting metamorphosisconnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's metamorphosisconnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
And join me tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. We're going to have on author and medium Rob Guttrow, his newest book, Ghosts of Ireland on a Medium's Vacation. That's a great book. I've read through a bunch of it, and it's one of the things about the book that it's a fantastic look at not only the paranormal side. He's a medium. He's going to all these incredible places, but he's also done the research after the fact. He's done the research to kind of fill in those gaps and stuff, and kind of fills in his own gaps, I'm sure, as well. And it's a fantastic conversation. Please join in tomorrow for that. I'd also like to thank Dustin Pari from Ghost Hunters, who stopped by today. We're talking about his live show that's going to be at the Fitzgerald Theater April 3rd. Ghosts Do You Believe? Tickets are still available for it. Now, for those who were listening last week, knows that we gave away 3 pairs of tickets last week. We don't have any more to give away, but we're really excited that we were able to take part in this and partner up with Dstin and the Fitzgerald Theater. If you want tickets, please make sure, go to the website, ghostdoyoubelieve.com. You can get your tickets there. If you follow Dustin Pari, you'll be able to see how to get tickets from him as well. It's fantastic. And we only had him for a couple segments, so we're going to finish out the show tonight. I want to talk about Bobby Mackey's Music World. And for those of you who know, that is a place that is located over in Florence, Kentucky, and it is a very well-known. And I said Florence, I actually meant Wilder. Forgive me there, Wilder, Kentucky. And it's, if you watched it on like Ghost Adventures, may have seen it on like stuff like My Ghost Story. It is very much portrayed as a very dark place, and it is. And I think all places need to be respected, obviously. But this is really kind of sad because this building, Bobby Mackey's Music World, is slated for demolition. And there's a lot of history to it. There's a lot. Some of it, though, has been debunked by a friend of mine, an author, Shannon Bradley Byers. She has a book about debunking places like this with the stories that weren't quite true. Now, I want to talk a little bit about my experiences there. First of all, Bobby Mackey's, it had a lot of people who are saying that there's like portals to hell there and stuff like that. I don't really believe that to be true. When we went in and did our investigation there back in 2015, we had a lot of people who were saying, like pretty much kind of writing us off because we're going to die there or something. And that's not the case at all. But we had an incredible time there. And I want to talk about that. But before I do so, I'm going back into the archive here a little bit. Back in 2015, I interviewed Wanda Kaye. And Wanda Kaye started there as a DJ over at Bobby Mackey's Music World. Then she ended up doing a lot more over there. I want to play this excerpt from our interview from 2015 where she talks about different aspects of Bobby Mackey's Music World, and I think they're worth listening to. Here's Wanda Kaye. That's the one thing that I loved watching. I mean, I have to admit, it's kind of what originally got me more into paranormal too, is seeing places like Bobby Mackey's. And I mean, eventually I realized that it doesn't always have to be dark, and that sort of thing. But Bobby Mackey's really got me interested. And I just remember you saying, I think it was on My Ghost Story, that that this place would bring men to their knees because it's the real deal, isn't it?
It is. That one, my husband used to say that he felt like I had been possessed or swallowed by it. Mm-hmm. That he worked with me there for the first 2 years, and then he quit. So I was hired as the DJ for Friday and Saturday night, and my husband would go with me. And we would feel things, we would see things, we would see how the dance floor would get crazy the more the people drank. I mean, we'd seen everything as musicians. We've seen people shot on a dance floor. We've seen people murdered. We've seen people get half naked for stupid reasons at different places we had worked at over the years. But Bobby Mackey's was different. But that's what intrigued me. And I love the smell of old wood. I love history. And the place was loaded with it, and I had heard so much. But then I was realizing that some of the tour guides were twisting what little bit of the stories they knew, and I wanted the facts for myself. So I started spending more time in there. And the poor old building was so dilapidated and falling apart, I felt sorry for it. And nobody else was taking care of it. So I would ask Bobby, do you care if we paint the logo over here? Or if you're going to hire somebody to do this, can I do that? And so I'd try to fix things up. And then I started noticing black shadow figures all standing around me and watching me. And I got to where I loved the place, and I felt like I knew many of the entities that were in there. I came up with about 45 resident entities. Anything from Indians, children that were left over from the past, lots of mobster-type people that were in there, just numerous entities. And the entertainers, they were the ones that wanted to interact the most, and the children. But again, ever since I've been a kid, small children and animals have always been drawn to me. So it didn't surprise me that I had spirit children following me around too. But as time had went on, I realized I had to put up a wall. I couldn't let it consume me. Carl Lawson, that had been the caretaker there, was consumed with it. And
Right.
it got to where he would beg to come into the building. Other people that had quit or been fired would come back, and I don't know since I've left, but I was there for 10 years, and I have not went back since I've left, and I don't have the urge to do that. I feel like I'm a lucky one that's gotten out, and it hasn't messed up my brain, it hasn't messed up my life, it hasn't messed up my family, and I'm content and want to leave well enough alone.
One of the things I find very interesting about places, and I see it locally, and I hear about it too, is the idea of people being addicted to locations.
Yes.
And do you think you were addicted to the Bobby Mackey's music world?
I honestly think that I was. I wouldn't have admitted that 4 or 5 years ago, but I will now.
Yeah. And then Carl, he had an exorcism done on him, did he not?
He actually had 2 done on him.
2 on? Okay.
They did one inside of the club, and then for whatever reason they thought they had to do this, I don't know. But one was also done on the Jerry Springer show.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
And he's no longer with us, right?
He's not. Carl, I worked with him off and on for the 10 years we were there. Now, Carl, I say walk a mile in somebody's shoes before you go judging them.
Mm-hmm.
But he had a major drinking problem, and if we went through the things that he did, we may too.
Sure.
But it got to the point where Carl would go for weeks without eating solid food, without bathing or anything. He was consumed with the alcohol and consumed with wanting to be at Bobby's. And so Bobby would bar him from the club because of the alcoholism, to where he couldn't talk. He would slur, and you'd see slubbers, and like I said, you could smell him because they hadn't had a bath.
Mm-hmm.
But he just wanted to talk to the people so much and share his experiences. And we had lots of time to talk. And when I first wrote the Wicked They Walk book, there was quite a bit of things in there that Carl had shared with me that were his personal experiences about the building. But I had let Bobby Mackay review the book before I turned it loose to the public. And he told me that a lot of that was all fictitious stuff that had been made up. Well, by that time, Carl wasn't around anymore to really validate one way or the other.
Sure.
So I just took it all out to play it safe. But he'd always said there was so much that was really going on in that place that it stood true on its own and was very scary on its own, without people trying to enhance and exaggerate some of the stories that they were telling about the place and were writing about the place. So again, that's why I wanted to do the Wicked They Walk book, so that it was factual. And anything I couldn't find in writing someplace, in newspaper articles and things like this, birth certificates, death certificates, things to validate particular spirits, I would refer to that as a legend, because I don't want to go stepping on anybody else's toes. But
Right.
if I couldn't prove it, it was a legend.
Right. So it's very interesting. It's the first time I've heard that in a while. That interview was on September 23rd, 2015. I ended up going out to Bobby Mackey's myself with my friend Nicole. We did a web series, a paranormal web series. We went out to actually a Masonic lodge out in that area that Wanda got us involved with. But Bobby Mackey's, we were able to get in for about 4 hours. And so that was in October of 2015. Wanda Kaye passed away in 2016. And that was a pretty big deal for me personally, because I only had really known her for less than a year, but she had been extraordinarily kind, and you could hear it in the interview that there's just a lot of great information that she had. If anyone's interested, that whole episode is up on my Patreon, patreon.com/GhostBox Live, where I put a lot of my archive shows from the past 10 years up there. But boy, there is just a lot of information that place. And like I said, we got into Bobby Mackey's, And, there's some stuff that happened there. None of it dark at all. But we don't go into these places looking for it. The person who was there with us, kind of showing us around, she said, well, last night someone came in and got scratched down in the portal to hell, down in the basement. And that's because they were asking for it. We didn't ask for it. We actually went up to Carl's apartment, and we did a couple different sessions up there. And we ran into a sort of angelic figure up there. It wasn't Carl. Carl did not come through at all. But it was an angelic figure that was kind of protecting the location, kind of protecting everything that was happening around. And she said stuff, and I do believe that it was a she, and she asked us never to repeat it. Isn't that interesting? And I've never repeated it to this day. Some things are private, aren't they? They're not meant for everybody. But, I really wanted to take a moment. There's so much we could talk about that trip in general, but I really wanted to take a moment to kind of lament the loss of the physical building of Bobby Mackey's music world. Now, this is almost a 10-year-old interview, and Wanda says herself in the video, in the interview, she's basically saying this place is falling apart. And that is true, and that's really a sad sign. So, I mean, I don't think it's just somebody, I don't think Bobby Mackey himself is like, well, I've had enough of this place, just tear it down. I'm sure there are very good reasons for it. I'm sure there's a lot of reasons why this place is being torn down. It's just sad. And it's just one of those, this place is kind of a bit of a maze. To get down to the basement where the portal is, what they call the portal of hell, and you have to go outside the building and round down the back. It's a lot, and it's just going to be a shame that is going to be gone now. But that is how these things work, and that's why support your places around you that offer paranormal tours or whatever else. Because honestly, you don't know how long these things last for. Most of these places aren't in great condition. You look at something like McIntyre Villa, it's in pristine condition. Other places like Bobby Mackey's, you're just afraid for a strong wind. So, I mean, it is one of those things that's kind of sad, but it is the way that it is. And I wanted to take a moment to just kind of lament on that. And maybe someday we'll talk a little bit more about Bobby Mackey's or other things as well, because it's sad to see these places go, and I'm not going to lie about that. We're wrapping up the episode. Once again, folks, I want to thank Dustin Pari for taking part in tonight's episode. If you want to go to his live show, go to ghostdoyoubelieve.com. It's at the Fitzgerald Theater. That's going to be April 3rd at 8 p.m. We got our tickets. We're all ready to go. I think you don't want to miss this. Tomorrow, don't forget, we have Rob Gutrow on talking about his trip to Ireland. Everyone, have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.